at sea, I miss my son, and when I'm here, I miss my sea. They even called my wife and told that it's over for him. I don't think there's a way he can finish it. That's what I had no idea that I was in the lead. If you urinate into the toilet bowl, it starts sparkling. You know, you got much more plastic in the sea.
Could you explain what GGR is and what it entails?
Right, so Golden Globe race is, this goes back to 1968, but I take you back a couple of years to 1966 when Francis Chichester sailed around the world with just one stop, and his idea was to do the fastest single-handed circumnavigation, which he did. When he finished, the Queen of England knighted him and he became a huge celebrity. Now, in ocean sailing, the next, holy grail was to do a non-stop single-handed circumnavigation. Chichester's race was sponsored by Sunday Times. Chichester's circumnavigation was sponsored by the Sunday Times, and obviously he was the only guy doing it. Now, Sunday Times got a lot of readership and all that because of reporting about Chichester, exclusively reporting about him. Then they thought, let's sponsor one of the entrants for one of the guys who's trying to do a non-stop circumnavigation. Then they realized there are almost 9-10 people who are trying to do this non-stop. So instead of sponsoring one of the entrants, they declared it a race, and they said that if you leave, between July and October, 2 such months, in this time frame, and you start in a port which is north of 40 degrees, and you go around the world non-stop and finish in the same port, you will be given the Sunday Times Golden Globe Race Winners Award, whoever does it first. If you start from England and finish it in England, and you are the fastest, you will also get £5,000 prize money. So that's how the Sunday Times Golden Globe Race of 1968 started, and there were 9 entrants, out of which only one finished. He was Sir Robin Knox Johnston. His boat was built in India. He sailed the boat from India to UK, and he wanted to sell that boat, raise more money through sponsorship, and go for a bigger boat and do the race. He got, I think, 1 case of beer and a box of chocolates as sponsorship. That's it. He didn't have a barometer in the boat. So he stole a barometer from one of the pubs just before he went for the race. So that's a story. Out of the other entrants, one entrant whose name was Donald Crowhurst started giving fake positions. He actually was not sailing around the world. He kept giving fake positions, and he allegedly committed suicide when he realized he couldn't keep up with the lies that he was telling the world. Nigel Tetley was actually leading the race, but 1,000 miles to the finish, he came to know that Donald Crowhurst was catching up. On radio, he came to know. So he pushed his boat hard, and his boat sank 1,000 miles to the finish. So if there was no Crowhurst, Tetley would have won. 3 years later, Tetley committed suicide. There was Morticia, who was doing this race. He was very fast. He rounded Cape Horn and he was going up to the finish. He asked himself, what do I get out of this? And he didn't find a meaningful answer. So he decided to continue around the world a second time, and he stopped in Tahiti, and he said, I'm doing this to save my soul. And this race itself was never repeated. This race led to the Vendée Globe, the Whitbread and all those things, but GGR itself was never repeated. 2018 was 50 years of GGR, and they decided to have the race again. Right? So this is the second time GGR is being held, and to stick to the original concept, they said you can use only technology of 1968, only old design boats. So they are long keel, hinged rudders, classic design boats, and so they had all these conditions, and the boats had to be between 32 and 36 feet. So that's the story of how, the conditions of GGR.
Okay.
Did it disappoint you that you finished second?
I was not disappointed by the finish, but I was disappointed by the fact that I could not race. So racing, it's not like you send off boats and they are going very, very fast and they'll finish. Sailboat racing has got a lot of tactics involved. And for that you need to know the position of the other person. And you need to have some good weather information. And some of the entrants refuse to give their positions. They wouldn't talk to anybody else, they will just remain silent. and this kind of deprived me of an occasion to race. So I was more disappointed by that than finishing second or third. I didn't mind finishing 10th also, as long as I got to race. So 2018 was different. We spoke a lot with each other, and there was a lot of tactical racing and nice stuff going on. So it was fun and enjoyable. This time it was more of a drag, and there was a point when I asked myself, why am I doing this? Because if I'm not racing, it is just a circumnavigation, right? And I could have done it without GGR.
There was a point when you were in the last stage of the race that you were in the lead. Like
I had no idea, so it didn't make any difference to me.
So because of your instinctive decision that you made, you ended up in the lead. But
Yeah.
then it kind of flipped.
Yeah, so that's what I had no idea that I was in the lead, and I was just trying to finish this as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. So finishing was important. Quickly was the second part, because by then my boat was very tired and things were breaking.
But you knew that there were only 3 people left in the race?
Yes, so the thing is, in one of the calls with the journalist, there was this guy from GGR who was translating, and up till then I thought there were 4 people left, but the journalist asked a question: how does it feel to be one of the 3 entrants left in the race? And this guy translated it from French to English and asked me that question. I was like, 3? What happened to the 4th guy? So like, oops. I said, oh, he had a big storm and his boat sank. Yeah.
This was your friend, Ian, right?
Ian, yeah.
And you were not aware that there was one person ahead of you?
See, when I rounded Cape Horn, I knew that she was ahead of me. So till then we used to get some, she used to talk to a guy in New Zealand, and I also used to talk to the same guy. So depending on the weather information he was giving, I could make out that she was ahead of me by 300-400 miles or something. Peter Mott, yeah. So, I didn't see any reason for that to have changed I assumed that she was ahead of me.
But you were not talking in...
No, she just refused to talk to me. So I'll tell you what, close to New Zealand, she spoke with me for 4 days or something. And I had very good weather information from Peter Mott, and I was able to get ahead of her. And I think nearly most of the Pacific I was ahead of her. But after this overtaking, she just stopped talking.
So when you're sailing, what's the normal day like?
You have some things that are routine and something that are out of routine. So routine things are your meals. You have a breakfast at whatever time, and then you have a dinner, which are like 2 big meals. You need to do some navigation, which can happen only when the sun is in certain positions. So that takes up your time. Then you have to do some, if there's any HF schedule, then you log into the HF and you listen for weather information, or you chat with your other entrants. So these are the routine things. Other than these, any out of routine things are, trimming your sails. If the wind picks up, you have to take a reef, or you have to do your tactics, figure out where you want to be next, or make some repairs. So these are the non-routine things. And you sleep whenever you can, and you try to get as much sleep as possible. So yeah.
You sleep at night, or is it like...
No, you sleep throughout the day. You sleep whenever you get time. So it's not so as if the boat stops sailing at night. So at night also, every 15-20 minutes you get up and check if the boat's direction is changed, if you need to reduce sail, put up more sail, or things like that.
Into spirituality, prayers, like meditation,
I was doing a lot of meditation, and in fact I overcame a lot of my problems just by focusing on breathing.
You are doing that
in the boat, yeah. So when I had breathlessness or some stressful times, I would just focus on my breath and first get myself all right, and then deal with the problem.
Problem with this kind of achievement, once you achieved it, what next?
You're always looking for something new.
Yeah,
that's
so what
true.
are they looking new?
Right now I'm just looking forward to spending some time with my kid. He started going to school when I was at sea, and I did not even know if his school started. So I missed out on a lot of his growth.
Also, I've heard it takes about a year to sort of
Yeah,
reorient
it takes
yourself after
exactly. It
such-
takes time to get back to
Food.
normal. Yeah, and then I need to pay back the loans. Otherwise, people will catch hold of me and say, "Stop this nonsense. Pay us our money first." So that's there, and I need to spend some time with my family, and then I need to really think what next. So I have options. One option is to do a race with crew, another round the world race. So that will be giving opportunity to a lot of Indians to get into this.
And you lost 25 kg.
I think about 20 kgs. That's what, yeah. But now I think I've gained about say 6, 7.
So that's your next target.
What, gaining weight? No, no. Eh?
Coming back to your old weight.
No, no. I was 92 kgs. That's quite a bit.
When you started the race.
Yeah. Now I'm 78.
This 236 days and 14 hours, some 46 minutes, and so 34 seconds. That's what you book, right?
Yeah,
So like it's quite a long time to be alone.
yeah.
Like, and it could be quite depressing for people like us. Like, what were your thoughts? What thoughts were going through your mind during this?
So I love being alone, and I like reading. So I did a bit of reading at sea. Otherwise, when I don't have anything to do, I just invent my own world and live in that.
Okay.
What were you reading?
I had Count of Monte Cristo, then Dombey and Sons by Charles Dickens, 1984. Then one book called I Am That by Nisargadatta Maharaj. Then I had a book called We the Drowned, which is a Danish book.
So you are now so much for the sailing community. The whole world looks up to you. Now, how do you build that kind of sailing ecosystem, or how can India build that kind of sailing ecosystem?
So it is, how do you put it, demand and supply kind of a thing. People should want to sail. They should see some benefit by going to sea. And once people start sailing, there will be boats. And once there will be boats, there will be infrastructure. Once there is infrastructure, there will be requirement of qualified people to do certain work. So it will provide employment. And once this starts, then there is no stopping. Then we will have, marinas, we'll have boats, we'll have manufacturing of boats, we'll have a lot of services that happen. And then, of course, we'll have restaurants coming around marinas and things like that.
But the cost of entry is too high for too many people.
Yes, you're right. That's why you have clubs, sailing clubs, where you can either take a full membership, which is expensive, or you can take a purely sailing membership, which is much more inexpensive. For example, let's say you are in Goa, you want to become a member of the Goa Yachting Association. I think it's just 500 rupees or something,
Okay.
and you have access to boats, you have access to a seafront, and you can go sailing there.
Now, coming back to your daily routine, so how were things like food, water supply, it's have been limited and
Yeah, so
canned food?
one condition of this race is that you have to take everything with you. Once you start the race, you cannot pick anything on the way. So as far as food was concerned, I had tinned meat, which I used to cook along with rice. I had freeze-dry food, so you just add hot water and that becomes proper food. I had a lot of packets of cooked meals given by DFRL, Defense Food Research Laboratory. So this was what I mainly had for my second meal. The first meal was always muesli and milk. Other than this, I had a lot of snacks. So I was looking at I think anywhere between 6 to 8 lakh calories for this entire voyage. As far as water was concerned, I carried about 280 liters to begin with, and the idea was to supplement it with rainwater. But by the time I reached the Indian Ocean, I realized that I was not able to catch so much rainwater. I was not very successful. So I decided to cut down on my water consumption, and I was on 1 liter a day. Yes, till I reached Cape Horn. And when I reached Cape Horn, I had some good rain. I collected 20 liters. Then the day my sail tore close to Uruguay, I got another 30 liters. Then close to the equator, I got 100 liters. So let's say from Uruguay onwards, I was on regular consumption.
Peter Mott had an interesting comment about you. Like Abhilash is the guy you want to have around when things break. So even this time, I think a lot of jury happened, and I think even your toilet door has become quite
Oh, yeah.
famous.
Yeah. And my lack of privacy.
So what exactly happened then?
So you got this, primitive or mechanical mechanical self-steering. The thing is, if you sit and steer the boat, you can't do that for more than, physically you can't do that for more than 48 hours. You have hallucinations. You have what's called a self-steering. Every boat, if you're sailing alone, needs an autopilot. So this is the autopilot for the boat. It's not electronic. It's not push button and all that. It doesn't take, electricity. What it has is a vane on top, which is a sensor. You set that to the, angle. I mean, you set it to the direction of wind you want. And this has got a gearing. This gearing translates to a lateral motion of a paddle. Now, this lateral motion is because of the boat's forward motion, right? So, if this falls to one side, because of the boat's forward motion and this gearing, this will go to one side like that. Now, when the paddle goes like this, from here you got two ropes connected, and that goes to the tiller. The tiller will get, let's say, pulled like this or whichever way, and that will try to get the boat back. Okay, and when the boat comes back, this top vane will come back and become vertical again. So that's the basic way this works. So this pendulum for this paddle that goes down into the water, I had 3 of them, and the third one broke when I was close to Chile. And it was a lee shore, as in the wind was pushing me onto Chile, and the depth of water was changing from 4,000 meters to I think 100 meters in a very short span, and I was in a gale, so nice huge waves, 30 to 40 knot winds, and night was falling, and none of the land was lit, no lighthouses, no human occupation, nothing. So it was a bit of a mess. So what I did is, first I took off a hatch cover and I fitted it, and I sailed like that for a few hours, and it was working well, but it was not big enough to provide power to the tiller. I needed something bigger. So next thing I did is I ripped open my toilet door and I made a big blade and I fitted that. That broke in 1 hour because it was not strong enough. Then I went back and put this hatch cover again, and I was sailing with that, and that was not very efficient. It was somehow managing, but not very efficient. This is when I called the Golden Globe GGR race organizer and told them that I got a problem, and can I talk to my manager so that I can get some advice. So they said, you can talk to your manager, but we will have to disqualify you, and you're going to Chichester class. But they made it look so appealing to go into Chichester class. They were like, if you go into Chichester class, you can open your GPS, you can get pilotage, and if you enter a harbour, you can take water, you can take food, and you can have a massage, you can have a nice shower and whatever. It's like they were literally tempting me to go Chichester. And they even called my wife and told that it's over for him. I don't think there's a way he can finish it. So that's when, what you do is go, lie down, shut your eye and figure out a solution. And I was going, in my head, I was going from one part of the boat, from the bow right till the stern. The solutions that I had was, maybe I can rip open my gas stove, and it is steel. So take one of the sides of the gas stove and saw it in half and make a blade out of that and use it. And I said, that's a good option, let's keep it. Then I got these steps I climbed, and they're like very thick, strong wood. So I thought maybe I'll saw that and use that. So that's the second option, keep it in the head. Then I had this emergency rudder, which I can saw, and anyway I won't have to use it. So I came up with these solutions, and finally I decided to take off the emergency rudder, and I sawed a big piece. And when I tried to fit it, it was too thick, and the gap was only this much. So I took a screwdriver and a mallet. I didn't have a chisel, unfortunately. A screwdriver and mallet kept reducing the, chiseling so that the width comes down. It was a very long process. I had spent a few hours. And even now, that thing is somehow steering the boat. But I know it's not going to last. Then I again did this entire process again, shut my eyes, started figuring out what else can I use. And again I started going from the bow to the stern, and I realized there is an anchor kept, which is aluminium. right? Let me try that. And I took the anchor and dismantled it, and I found a shaft which is like probably this big. Now the thickness has to be right, okay? And the thing is, it's heavy, so you are supposed to screw it in. Now with wood, I screw it in such a way that the friction will hold it, okay? But with a heavy aluminum piece, if I do that, it will just slip. Now fortunately, the anchor had a hole at the top of the shaft. Now it's just a matter of the width fitting. I went, checked, and it perfectly fit. Yeah. And with that, piece of aluminum, I did 10,000 miles of sailing till the finish. So every moment GDR was like, oh, you'll give up now, you'll give up now, you'll give up now. It was fun proving people wrong.
Yeah.
Personally, I didn't see any danger. Except things like falling overboard or being attacked by whales or something, or having a collision. But yeah, it's not so dangerous.
It's not so dangerous.
No.
But that accident happened,
Yeah.
and you said it was stupid of you to go out. So when that accident happened, you really thought that I shouldn't have done it.
No.
Never,
No. In fact, in the immediate aftermath of the accident, the thing is, I had invested about 4 crores into this race, all debt. I had just gotten married. My wife was pregnant. I knew that there's something wrong with my back and I might end up being paralyzed. So bank is in like negative something, and I am seriously injured. I'm losing my boat also. It's not like I can sell the boat and repay some loan or whatever. So I was in that state, and I thought the best thing to do would be to cry. Instead of that, I ended up laughing about the situation.
What about the sharks and whales? That
No sharks, but a lot of whales. In fact, in this race, one of the dangers was whales have started attacking boats off the coast of Portugal. So they come and start chewing your rudder, and 3 boats have sunk. And it's like now these orcas are teaching the kids how to do it. So we are not allowed.
Right.
So how do you manage?
You can't.
What?
No, that's something. It happens to save your life. Don't get injured or anything. So when they chew the rudder, obviously it reflects on the tiller, on the steering. So if you are anywhere close to the steering, it will like whack. So if you try to hold it or something, you will injure yourself. So best thing is just go inside.
You said you incurred 4 crore debt in the first one. It's all being cleared.
Yes, I managed to clear all that.
And this one for the latest one, you had the sponsors.
I had sponsors, but only 500 crore debt beyond that. My boat had a collision just before the start, and to repair it, I had to spend about 40-50 lakhs. And this is beyond the sponsorship. So I couldn't really ask for more money from sponsors for that.
So how much debt are you in now?
500 crore. Only.
Well, couldn't the Navy just pay you off like...
It doesn't work like that.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. You have to, if the Navy could do that, then probably all the Navy's money would have disappeared into somebody's pocket.
Okay.
So the thing is, they have to follow processes, and these processes are open to scrutiny. They also need to go to, let's say, a civilian counterpart for their advice. And the Navy can't just take money and give you and say, go do it, spend it the way you want to do it, and submit accounts later. It's none of the government departments can do that. So about the sites that I saw,
Yeah.
I'll tell you the interesting sites. I was stuck in Aden, I told you.
Yeah.
The sea was very bioluminescent in there. So if you do the dishes, we do it with seawater, your dishes start glowing.
Okay.
If you urinate into the toilet bowl,
Yeah.
it starts sparkling, Then we were anchored about, let's say, 100 meters from the jetty, and to go to the jetty, we used to have a small dinghy boat, rubber dinghy. We used to row. And at night when you row, when the oar goes in water and comes out, it's like it's scooping out huge bulbs of light.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I remember once we were sailing off Chagos or something, and on the horizon at night I saw a single yellow light. And when you see a light like that, it's like you think there's a ship. and that's a place where you're not supposed to have ships. It's not a ship's sailing route. So I went inside, checked on the radar, nothing. Checked on the AIS, nothing. So I was like getting a bit worried because this could be a pirate if he's not transmitting his identity and all that. And then I'm staring at him, and then after that there's another light right next to this guy. It's like if there are two lights, it means it's a ship bigger than 50 meters.
Okay.
Or there are two separate boats. So I went inside and again checked my radar. I checked the AIS and nothing. And now I'm really getting worried because there are two pirates. They'll definitely see I'm the only guy and he'll come for me. I kept staring, really scared. And what I see is the moon comes out like that.
Oh.
So I see this tip of the moon and this tip of the moon, and the entire crescent comes out right at the horizon.
Okay.
Yeah, and in this race I was leaving Cape Town,
Yeah.
and I saw the full moon, this bigger moon, full moon, red in color, orange in color, rising just behind Table Mountain. And you can see the silhouette of Table Mountain right behind the moon. It's grown much worse.
Okay.
We got much more plastic in the sea. This time when I did the around the world, the storms in the Indian Ocean was much, milder. The high pressure in the South Pacific was much stronger. The low pressures in the South Pacific were even deeper. It was very hot at 40 degrees south, so much that I got sunburnt. Doesn't happen. Then I saw flying fish at 41 south. Again, that's very strange. Sargasso weed has taken over all the North Atlantic. That's also quite strange. So yeah, a lot of strange things happening. It's a very different feeling when you're flying alone. It's completely different from sailing. I don't know, sometimes you get into this, I think it's technically called godlike feeling or whatever, and you feel your God. And you're completely disconnected from reality, you're completely disconnected from what's happening around you. You go into a certain kind of daze, a hypnosis. And and then something has to happen to bring you back. It could be somebody calling on the RT or some emergency alarm going off. But that sort of a daze happens when you're in the sky.
You used to fly Dornier,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to touch on that because Dornier, I'm imagining very fast-paced, very fast reflexes.
Yeah.
And that's a big contrast to your sailing expeditions, which is a very slow moving.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like your balancing method?
Yeah. So, human mind can think at a certain pace. Flying is very fast. You are flying at 200 knots. They say that you need to be where the aircraft will be in the next 10 minutes. So you have to think at 400 kmph. Now you come to sailing, you have to physically slow down your thought process. You're doing 200 miles in 1.5 days, not in 1 hour. So everything becomes slow, and if you don't, forcibly slow down your processes, then you can probably go mad. It's very crazy. You see a ship. When you're driving, you see a car, and like 2 or 3 minutes later, you cross that guy. You see a ship, and it's there, and you don't know if you're going to collide with it or not. What should I do? Should I turn right or left? And you're just staring at it, and this goes on for like half an hour, 1 hour, and you still can't figure out what's happening, right? So it's complicated.
Yeah.
In one of your talks, you emphasize on the importance of planning. So
Yes. Plan. So even during the voyage, when there's a breakdown or something breaks, the first thing is I just go and lie down, shut my eye, and keep imagining how to repair it. And for example, I had to my running backstay parted, and I had to replace it. Otherwise, I cannot sail on that tack, which means that I have to climb up. Now I have to replace it with what? Right? So in my head, I'm thinking of taking a thick rope and how to make that connection. I don't know what the connection looks like, so I'll have to carry shackles. If the shackles don't fit there, then I'll have to carry another piece of rope to attach this thick piece of rope to. And if the shackles are going to be the mode of connection, then I need to carry cable ties so that I can lock the pins of the shackle. So in my mind, I'm doing all these things, and I keep making the list in another section of my mind. And finally, you have to climb up with all these ropes. So how do you do that? You can't. One way is to tie one end of the rope to your waist, and you just take the tip of the rope up. Or you can coil the entire rope and put it on your shoulder. But what if it falls off your shoulder? Then you say, okay, I'll sling it across my neck. And you are visually seeing all these things happen. And going up to the second spreader, the top spreader is really, really difficult. So what sort of sea do I want to sail in? And what sort of sail setting do I need so that the boat doesn't wobble so much? And what direction should I put the boat in, which will be safe? And then this climbing gear itself has to be assembled. And so in my head, I am assembling all this climbing gear and all that. And now I come out after 2 hours of just this imagination. I come out, and then I look for ropes, and so this piece has fallen down, and I coiled it, and I noticed that the end fitting of this steel wire which has fallen off is similar to my guardrail. Right, so I think maybe I can replace, take off my guardrail and replace the running backstay with my guardrail. So now I again go back and start imagining what to do. If I remove the guardrail, how do I take it up? Because it's steel wire, not rope anymore. And what if that fails? So I'll carry the guardrail and a rope with me, right? And if I remove the guardrail, it's a safety issue for me. So what do I replace that guardrail with? And I'm imagining, and I get another solution. My emergency HF antenna is steel wire, but slightly thinner. So right, so now I take that emergency HF antenna, I need to fit it, and its length is short. What do I do? If its length is longer, what do I do? And I physically open it and check, and it's slightly longer. So I decide to coil it like that and tie it. So yeah, it's like 2 or 3 hours of visualization, and then I go and execute it.
Has this whole experience changed you, your perspective?
It changes you. It changes you, and I think the fundamental shift happened in 2012, 2013, where I was sailing without any pressure of racing and all that. So, like I say, you have to get away from the world to understand what the world is. And by the second month or so, you start noticing these, changes, clarity in thought, the freedom that you experience. And the biggest freedom that you experience is the realization that you don't have to wonder what the other guy is thinking about me, you realize that a lot of things that happen on land is a mass hallucination, and people are giving value to things just because of their faith in that. So yeah, these things. Or there is no guilt and morality when you're alone. So there is a freedom from so-called committing sin. And when that freedom sets in, you start investigating the nature of God even further, and you got a lot of time to do that. So you come to a certain conclusion. A month later, you change your conclusion, and a month later, you got a third conclusion. So it's interesting how everything changes at sea. Well, I need to thank a lot of people, and I'm doing that very slowly, but that's making some progress. I need to eat some food. I mean, I'd made a list of stuff that I wanted to eat. So fish curry rice was there. There is bun and tea at a place called New Sheetal.
Okay.
Then there is eclairs from Jilla Bakery.
Okay.
Then there is pizza from Indigo Delhi in Goa. Then prawn shashlik from Churchill at Fort. And banoffee pie from Khan Market. So I got a list.
Khan Market in Delhi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, in Cochin.
Huh? Cochin home food. When at sea I miss my son, and when I'm here I miss my sea.